This video and others like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. Please show your support with a like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any new videos. If you want to get involved with the channel, consider becoming a channel member. There are many benefits to channel membership, including access to our Discord, exclusive deck tech and strategy videos, and the opportunity to help create channel content. I want to sincerely thank all our channel members, as I truly couldn't do this without your support. You guys rock. Go Commando.
Hey, it is Destiny Friday. This is SwagDean here with Dice Commando. We're doing something a little different today. We're here in TTS, and I'm talking about a fan release of additional cards, which is not part of ARH, the Continuing Committee work. This is made by Fablewick, a long-standing member of the Destiny community, and as we're discussing kind of like it's been about a year since the last ARH set, he took it upon himself to make a full release of some cards, which I don't know if he's released PDFs or anything if you wanted to print it. But if you were looking for something you can play in TTS, then this would fit the bill. It has 123 cards. It is compatible with the ARH era stuff. So this is like a unofficial, I don't know what number set they're on, set. But it is, I reached out to him asking kind of what the design philosophy was for the set. The set is called Fearsome Warfare, is the set's name. And he was telling me that he really wanted to lean into a lot of the tribal deck synergies. And if you go through the cards, you will see a lot of things that are rewarding certain subtypes, but especially droids, Wookiees, Ewoks, like Geonosians, Engineers, stuff like that, all get a good bit of support and options. He also really loves the character General Dodonna, and so there's a bunch of tricks in there that kind of unlocks that card a bit more. So, and when you're making a set, in a lot of ways for yourself, you lean into the things that you love. So 123 cards, that's more than I'm going to be able to go through in a timely manner. But I did want to make people aware that this exists. As of right now, I know that the JSON file for TTS is there's a Discord group, which is on the Censors. It was a popular Destiny destination Discord for people that wanted to play over webcam. But there was a feature which ARH has done in the past, which was Good, Bad, and Ugly, where people would make their own cards, kind of considering an expansion for the game. But here's my pitch for a card. And then they would occasionally do a video where someone from the ARH team would go through a handful of those cards and then would discuss which cards are good, which ones are bad, which ones are ugly. And so a lot of these things ended up in there, and then he just eventually moved on to building an entire set. In that Discord is where this file is. If you know Fablewick, you could probably also ask him, and he could give it to you. Or if there's anyone else who has it, if you get into the TTS with them, they could drop the file down, and you can take it. But I did want to go through kind of with some of my favorite cards that are in here, talk about some things that I ran into when I was building the draft kit, which is obviously much smaller than this. The scale of this, just getting art and stuff for all of these cards is quite a labor. So I wanted to really reward his effort and kind of highlight, because I know how much effort this takes to put this together for, maybe even a very small population of people to enjoy. And, these labors of love are interesting. And thinking about that, so here's an example, the Infiltrator knife. So he's had a lot of fun with the art in these. There's a little bit of kind of deviation from maybe it's the set norms for art, which is a lot of fun. I have another one I highlight, but I know it's hard to find knives in Star Wars art because most characters have a blaster or some kind of crazy other weapon, or they have a lightsaber, but finding a picture of a knife is difficult. And I ran into that when I was making the draft kit, and I actually found a cosplayer who had a dagger and was wearing the Mandalorian outfit, and I used that art for mine. So I do know, like, that kind of thing, like this, you wouldn't really think about it, like in the whole world, all those comics, etc. You can't find a picture of someone holding a knife that you could just zoom in on and use as art, and it was actually extremely difficult. So, when you're making 123 cards, you do run into things like that where he had to take. I'm not even sure where this image came from, but had to. This wouldn't normally be like a kind of art you would see from like FFG era inspired art. Another one that's just fun is he used some of the stuff from the Lego games, which is fun. And I think when you're going to make a set like this, doing things like that is fun. You might as well, because you wouldn't be able to do this kind of thing with an official release. Let's have some fun with the things like the art. So we'll start off right here with some of my favorite yellow cards that I saw. This one leaning into the Wookiee tribalism. So resolve one of your Wookiee dice as if it were showing melee damage against a character, and then you remove one of that character's character upgrade dice. So for one, there's some action economy of you resolving a die and removing one of theirs. So it's pacing, because you're not just doing mitigation, you also getting your die in, so make it easier for you then maybe claim. So this was a good, tricky Wookiee card. It does have to be Wookiee. Okay. Another one I think a lot of people will be excited about is that the murder droids are back. They've had a huge stay in the meta back in the FFG era with Afra and 000 and BT1, but in this time they are not supports, they are full-blown characters. They do have team up for 000. He gets a discount if you see BT1, and they have some tricks with your cards in hand. So 000 fuels that by, after you play a droid for the first time, you draw a card. After you play a mod for the first time, you draw a card. And then with BT1, you see that his mods don't count as upgrade unit, and as a power action, discard a card from your hand to roll a mod die in this character triple. So you're burning through your cards to get this extra value here, but then 000 lets you draw cards to do it. Ripping through the deck. It's the draw card thing was definitely a big Afra feature, so I feel like this is a fun way to kind of call back to some of those things. It's a lot of indirect and melee like before. It's interesting. I don't know exactly what I would do extra character wise. I don't know. I have a team in mind what I would do with these, but this is it's fun to see these guys back in hopefully a less oppressive way than the old murder droids were. So that covers our yellow cards. For red, I could say I have 4. I cheated. But Fearsome Warfare, this is the namesake card of the set. So, those are fun. So it's a plot. And after you deal damage to one or more characters, place 1 resource on this plot, and then as an action, you remove 6 resources from the plot to flip it and attach it to one of your characters. And if you flip it, it becomes an upgrade, which basically just gives the Wookiee kind of like grit mechanic or whatever. So before you resolve one of your attached characters' character dice, showing damage increases value by 1 if they have 6 or more damage. So that was a feature of a lot of Wookiees in the previous sets. So this kind of like turns that on for another character, or if you have another Wookiee that didn't have that kind of like classic Wookiee feature, you can kind of grant it to them. So I do think that's a cool Wookiee trick. And I highlighted Wookiees a bit here in my favorite cards, because I always love the Wookiees were good. This is a 2 for here, actually, with vehicles and kind of rewarding the piloting mechanic, which I think is an interesting thing to help people invest in. I tried to build a couple pilot decks in the AH stuff, and I didn't usually go all that well. But these kinds of things would have really helped push them a little bit more than just the action economy of activating and getting into activated support, but like rewarding doing that. So the E-Wing Escort Fighter here, after you play the support, you can make it elite, and when you activate it, if it's not piloted, then you lose one, so it's no longer elite, when you actually activate it. So it rewards you for spending 3 and getting some mixed, you have some modifiers, you have pay sides dice, but when you can double it just by getting one of your pilots into it, it really rewards you for choosing that vehicle to pilot or just having a piloting focused deck. Similar thing here with Jack Porkins. So Jack Porkins is a character in this set, I will say that. And it's another thing, after you play the support, if you can spot Jack, you make it elite, and for a 1 cost vehicle, getting all those dice in double is pretty strong. After you activate the support, if it's piloted, you may resolve it for free, so you can ignore those pay sides. And after a character piloting the support is defeated, you have to discard it from play. So if they're able to, like after you activate and pilot this thing, if they blow up the pilot, this goes with it. So, Jack famously blows up on screen in the classic trilogy. So I do think this is a fun gambling. Like you can get a lot of value for a 1 cost support, especially if you can be resolving it piloted where you don't have to pay the pay sides. You get 2 dice from it. This is a fun investment gambling mechanic. So I dug this one. And then Migs Mayfield is the kind of character I would have started building around first. So like if this was spoiled, I'd have been like, okay, I'm definitely going to have to give a run at playing Migs. He's just kind of my style guy. So 13, 16, try to find like a 14 to pair him with. Middle. That's me all day. After setup, the character gains the color yellow. So you can, there's a bunch of cards that will pay off from that. And power action, resolve one of your dice showing range damage as unblockable, increasing its value by 1 if it's a weapon. So rewarding you for playing weapons on your characters. And then if that die is showing a modifier, you can resolve as if it didn't have a modifier. So there are a bunch of upgrades, especially because a lot of times the modifier sides can get big on some of those. Just being able to, if they remove your base side, stuff like that, you have ways to get them resolved or maybe pump them. I dig it. So Migs is definitely someone I would have gotten into the shop to build around. This next one is kind of a combo, which is blue piloting. So in covert missions from FFG era, there was piloting Luke, who was pretty good. He was a little squishy, but it was the first time that like blue piloting worked in any way. All of the blue ships, pretty much in the history of FFG, were awful. When we saw Kylo's ship, it seemed like it was going to be good. It seemed really, really powerful, and then it just never actually played out that way. But this is another take on, can we make a good blue pilot? So you get 13 health on a 13-16, all base sides, most of them are 2 or more, has piloting. After you activate the character, you may turn one of your piloted dice to any side. And then with Anakin's actual ship, it has the ability to, after you turn this die, you may resolve it, increasing its value by 1 if it supports piloted by Anakin. So obviously there's a quick synergy there where you get to fast strike with the dice on here. So you get to turn it, and then you can immediately rock that 3, which could be a 4. You got to take an indirect, but you can do a bunch of damage. If you don't want to take the indirects, you can do that too and resolve that as a 3. You could do a whole bunch of focusing if you have other stuff out there. I just think this could potentially be a viable blue piloting deck, which is just kind of an archetype or build that just never really was a thing in FFG. The piloting Luke was the closest thing we had, and it still wasn't awesome. It had a lot of gamble mechanics, which, gambling kind of stuff, it's a game where you roll dice. There's an element of that inherently, but a lot of competitive meta stuff. It's just harder. The more you're rolling those metaphorical dice on top of the actual dice, you tend to lose games that way. So this just seems like straight value. There's some action cheating. It's just solid. So I like these. And then a pitiful plea. When you have zero cost mitigation, it's always tough because if you want it to be useful, it's one of those cards you can use in desperation, because even if you spend your resources or you have a deck where you're built, there's lots of blue decks especially where like your resources each round, you want to drop a lightsaber, or like you want to spend your resources another way, but you still want to be able to do some kind of mitigation. This seems like a fun card that would have a lot of different usage cases. So spot a blue character, choose an opponent's die, force that opponent to resolve that die as if it were showing range damage. So if you're up against a ramp deck that doesn't really want to be doing their damage yet, they want to make their money, you can make those resource sides damage, which is not what they're looking for at that time. Or if it's a mill deck, same thing. You could turn those discards into damage, and that's not their win con, so you're messing them up. But also, I believe you could force them to resolve a blank as a 0. So if they rolled poorly, you'd be able to remove it. So, it's a gamble. You're desperate, but you are getting a 0 cost thing where you can maybe make them do what they don't want to do. And there's even instances where you could do this to make them resolve a base side, to strand. So you're going to take the 2 no matter what. I don't want them to get resolved with that 3 modifier next to it. I'll take the 2 now and force them to re-roll that 3 or strand that 3. So there's a bunch of instances where I think at a 0 cost, this would be good. Similar to the hidden motive that's popular in FFG, you got to re-roll a possible removal on the gamble. So, it wasn't always great, but it was 0 cost, and so it went to everything. This is the same thing. Like, there's instances when this is not helpful, but there's a bunch of instances where I think you could get good value from this enough that you would put it in a deck, and it could make your, 30 cards and be some of the best things you have. So, but yeah, it's a full set. It's got some colored battlefields. It has characters, supports, upgrades, events, plots. It's got a little everything. I think it's worth checking out. Fablewick is a innovative and creative, fun player. You can see a lot of that imbued into these cards. If you're looking to mix things up with your ARH, FFG, era shenanigans, try some of these things out. Go find the TTS JSON, throw it into the ARH mod. I have it here, it all loaded up. It does have like the dice. They don't self-load the dice like normal, but if you were to build a deck, you could kind of get the dice that you're going to need out. But he went and did the art. All the cards have art. He made the art happen on the dice. This is a lot of work, and I think it's worth checking out and getting some enjoyment out of. So I want to thank Fablewick for putting in this effort, putting this out there. I hope people find it who are looking for some fun, who want to roll some dice, enjoy some Destiny. Bust this out. Put together some decks. Maybe do some kind of a draft with it. I'm a big fan of drafting. So yeah, check it out. Thanks for joining us here on a Destiny Friday. And as always, go Commando.